All right, welcome to the Arkansas Organic Chronicles podcast. We are live with Luke and Joe, but Cailin Irby from the CAFF farm is here with us today because Luke decided to spend some time with his kiddos at their birthday. So, Cailin, welcome back to the podcast show. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Joe. It's been a little while since I've been on,
It
so
has.
I'm happy to be here.
Scenery is definitely better.
The scenery is better, that's for sure.
Darn right. And finally, it's not raining again and gorgeous out.
Yeah.
So Cailin, it's been a while. So who are you and what is your role at CAFF?
Yeah, I am the farm manager at CAFF. So you all are probably a little bit familiar with what we do here at the Center for Arkansas Farms and Food. We're a farmer training program. I manage the farm to make sure that we can provide hands-on experience for those who come and learn with us.
Awesome. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So today we are talking about CAFF farm, making the transition to certified organic.
Mhm.
And we'd like to kind of go through, because we have basically 3 different farms, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we have 3 different systems, 3 different farms, as Joe has stated. We have about half an acre of small scale production. So that's actual production space. I bet we're close to 3/4 of an acre of just the space that small scale consumes. We have 3, close to 4 acres of mid-scale or tractor scale production where we grow 4 different crops. And then we have about half an acre of blueberries and little less than of blackberries. So each of those kind of, while they don't have their own organic system, it's been, it's taken Joe and I a little bit of time kind of working through how best to sort this out to be an organic farm in an efficient and communicative way.
And did you mention incubator? Or
I forgot about the incubator. And then we also have an incubator program that's new to this year. We have 2 incubator farmers that have about 1/4 of an acre growing space. Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, we basically have 3 different farms. So I thought we'd talk about the small scale farm and the tractor scale farm.
Perfect.
And what's changed basically this year. So let's start with the small scale farm. We're standing out in front of one of our High Tunnel 1, I think, if I remember the names right.
Yeah, you got it.
So what has changed as we've gone from year 0 last year to transition year 1 this year for to help you be organic?
Yeah.
Or to help you get certified organic?
Yeah, of course. I was really fortunate that when I came on as the farm manager or even came to CAFF, that the space was basically being managed in an organic way. So we were using organic practices for the most part. So there's been very little of redoing things. Like we haven't really had to change amendment schemes. We haven't really had to change sources. But I think that refining and communicating systems has been the biggest overhaul for this year. So I've spent a lot of time, Joe and I spent a lot of time last year 0, creating the organic systems plan, but the OSP is only as good as it can be communicated and followed through with in a good manner. So I created a lot of standard operating procedures. And I shouldn't say created, but probably just revamped them to make sure that they were following the OSP in the best way possible. And I've been training crew to those actually starting this week. It's just an easy way to make sure that everybody knows exactly how to do things, from sowing to transplanting to bed prep. We have delegated systems where people can follow those through, and there's posted signage. There's ways that they can help me keep records. It all kind of flows together really nicely to make sure that we're following that organic systems plan. And it also ensures that we're following food safety guidelines and procedures, which is so important when you're an organic farm or farmer in general.
Mm-hmm.
And then something different that I've done this year to help make sure that I stay on track and do the things I need to do is I created a similar list that I've created for crew for myself. So crew comes in and they have an open shift checklist, a close shift checklist, and then a deep clean list for every single day of the week. And I've done the same thing for myself. As the farm manager, I'm scouting for pests. I am doing pre-harvest assessments. I'm doing record keeping. I'm communicating with buyers. And so this checklist just made sure that I kept up with that in a way that was really doable and efficient. And it So nothing slides under, nothing goes not noticed or undone. And then I think the last thing that we've done this year to help manage all of this, organic systems or just farming in general, is I was able to promote an intern from last year's crew to take over mid-scale. When I say take over, they're kind of doing all the tasks. They're helping with record keeping. We're going on field walks together. It's an educative experience for them, or an educational experience, I should say, for them, as well as it's just so good for me to be able to delegate that and then empower somebody else to take on that task and that scale.
Okay. As I look out over our small scale stuff, I see that you've added some low tunnels.
Yes. Yeah. We've got a couple of cat tunnels in the works right now. They don't have any plastic on them, but will soon have plastic.
They had plastic.
They had plastic. It got blown away in the wind. Yes. We have a really, it's a windy area for sure. And then we're also incorporating many more cover crops in our systems, both small scale and mid scale.
What's the goal with the cover crops? What are you trying to achieve there?
For the cover crop specifically that we're seeing, cover crops in general are great for just relieving soil compaction, adding nitrogen, organic matter. This cover crop in particular, we're doing an Austrian winter pea and winter rye mix. And once the seed comes to a certain stage, we'll crimp this down and be able to plant into it. So it's an organic way to manage weeds. It's a great nitrogen fixation, and then also keeps the soil really cool and moist for those summer crops like summer squash, tomatoes, eggplant.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I also see that you have started raising some of your beds again.
Yeah.
And so I look at Field Block 1, you said you went through with the rotary plow to heave up and give you some more beds rather than kind of flat production.
Yeah,
I
really wanted to create a better root zone for some of our crops. And then I noticed in years past that we were having some issues with water runoff. Mm-hmm. So our beds had become super flat. And so raising them up, just gave more area for that water to kind of come through the paths rather than take our crops out that are planted in the beds. And we just had, 6 inches, close to 8 inches of rain in this area, and a problem area from last year that we just finished building up the beds. There were no issues. The water drained really magnificently, and there's been no issues with the crops getting drowned out. So I'm really happy with that so far.
Better water retention, and honestly, we're sitting on top of pretty good frangipane as well. That seems
Absolutely.
Like we just constantly have to deal with that here.
Yeah, so. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Any other big changes that you've made really on small scale?
Not really on small scale. I think dialing in systems has been the big thing. I'm starting to go away from using tarps as much as I can and focusing more on cover crop usage. We used to small things like we used to mulch paths, and then I got really tired of mulching paths, so we don't do that anymore.
That's a big labor task.
And we, rely on cultivation. So yeah, I would say those are really the main points.
Okay. So let's switch gears. And by the way, not a fake picture. Like I can actually touch that.
We're not on a green screen.
Nothing green screen. We're actually out in the field, hence the cars driving by. So you made a bunch of changes out at the tractor scale stuff as well. What did you make changes out there to help meet organic certification here in the next couple of years?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest changes that I think that we have here at CAFF. For one, changing the timing that we've planted some of our crops. So for mid-scale at CAFF, we grow brassicas, winter squash, and then we're introducing carrots and beets into the mix this year, which is exciting. Anxiety.
Yeah.
I'm telling the truth here. Brassicas are notoriously just kind of tough in this areas, but we have switched from a fall brassica planting to a spring brassica planting. It doesn't mean that we're not going to fight harlequin bugs or cabbage loopers, but at least we're getting them in the beginning of the season rather than the middle of the season where they've been in abundance.
Numbers should be a little less.
Yeah, that's what, hopefully a little easier to manage. We created much better fertility scheme, or amendment scheme, I should say, by spending the time really calculating what we need for all of our major nutrients. Joe, you were really helpful with that. So, sitting down and taking the time to figure out the crop needs and the soil needs specifically to make sure that we're buying just as much as we're going to put out.
And you've changed what nutrients you're using this year too, quite a bit.
Yes. Yeah. So last couple years, we've traditionally ordered from Midwestern BioAg, like a veggies mix. But this year we're, sticking to chicken litter, which is cheap and really easy to come by. And it provides the nitrogen source that we need, as well as the phosphorus and potassium that we need for brassicas and winter squash.
And you got a tote, right? You got a 2,000 pound
We got
tote of
two
processed.
2,000 pound totes of processed heated chicken litter from Seven Springs Farm. They're a really great organic amendment supplier. And then we also have chicken feather meal, which is just a great nitrogen source that we're adding where needed. And then we're also side dressing with fish emulsion, which isn't really a change, but again, in refining systems, using more of it, figuring out exactly how much we need.
Intentional usage of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got crop changes. You've got fertility plan.
Yeah.
What else have you made?
Incorporating so many more cover crops in mid-scale.
Yep.
After we did the math, and Joe was like, you can get so many more nitrogen credits from incorporating more cover crops into your mix rather than just providing or just what am I trying to say? Relying solely on amendments or fertilizers. So we have like 4 different cover crops going in this year. Right now, we have one section that's planted with oats and peas. That's where our winter squash will go. So that'll be a great nitrogen credit. And then between some crops, we've got like quick successions of buckwheat. And then this winter, we're doing like a late seeded clover mix. Just a bunch of really exciting things to try and not keep our soil covered.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and we had a little bit of issues last fall getting some of our cover crops because it just didn't rain for like 8 weeks.
It was a really dry fall. And I think that last year, if we would have had a normal fall where we, have gotten water, it would have been great. Yeah. But I have some systems and ideas in place to kind of mitigate that for later this year.
Yeah, it'd be really nice to get the nitrogen credits from the cover crop. That really pushed a lot of chicken feather meal and chicken litter the spring in order to kind of meet the needs that we couldn't get from that cover crop.
Exactly.
Credit. So.
Exactly.
Okay, so you got cover crops. That's been a big change and kind of the ongoing and evolving.
Yep. And then I think last, but certainly not the least, probably the biggest lift this winter has been setting up cultivation plans for our crops. So winter squash and brassicas, we plant on plasticulture. And this tractor here is our plasticulture cultivator. Joe has been instrumental in helping us develop these systems and build out these tractors. He's so humble, but you all know that he is a mastermind in these things, or you have to know at least. So thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
So we have ways to keep weeds under control, which has been one of the biggest challenges in mid-scale at CAFF so far. So I'm just so looking forward to being able to use some of these new tools in our field and manage weeds the way that they should be managed in an organic system, which is through cultivation.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get our fields kind of under control so that we can eventually get back into some netting and being able to net our brassicas
rather
and
than
net
spray
our summer squash rather than spraying or just not. Yeah,
exactly.
But we have so much weed pressure right now. That's kind of why we ended up not going that route, because we looked at a mulch, not a mulch layer, but a netting machine.
Yep.
But we just have so much weed pressure.
Yeah, it would have just been too much to manage. We would just have weeds growing underneath that, underneath the netting, and it would have been a mess. Yeah. So it's coming, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Ultimately, hopefully, we can get away from plastic as a whole,
and go to bare ground production, which would be really ideal.
Yeah, we're not there.
We've got a long way to go.
Yeah, incremental steps.
But it's feeling good. I think this year is going to be a really great year for mid-scale.
Cool. So anything else that's been on your mind as we're into spring here? I guess it's spring. So anything new this spring that's been interesting or troublesome, or actually no, before we go at, what's been the hardest change out of all this?
The hardest change. I think for me it's like delegating and making sure that things are done in the best way possible without me always being here. I mean, CAFF is there's a lot going on. I mean, I have 5 crew members in the summertime. We have 9 students out here,
Okay.
and then different short courses. And so just like making sure that things are done to plan with so many moving pieces. But that's why it's worth spending the time doing, creating SOPs and doing all those things. I think that it's going to come to great benefit that we've spent the time making sure that those systems are in place and are able to be communicated to everybody. Yeah.
All right. So, how's spring going?
How's spring going? Well, last week was slow because of the rain that we got here. Spring it's moving right along. I always get this like anxious feeling in spring where there's just so much to do and it feels like so little time and you have to kind of get back into the groove of things. But I'm trying to give myself the space to take it at a good pace, because spring is those times where you can just like hustle, and you have to, but you also have to say, this is it. This is what's happening.
Rain last week was really nice.
The rain last week,
I don't know about you,
and I
but
think
didn't
that it's like carrying over to this week. Like I just feel so calm, and I'm just like we're having a good time. Talk to me in a couple weeks when tomatoes and peppers go in, and it'll be a different story. But I think I feel really confident in the crew that we have. I feel super confident in the season, and I think it's going to go great. And of course, in fall time, I might have different opinions. Yeah, that's exactly right. But for now, spring has sprung and it's beautiful and trucking right along where we should be.
Cool. So a couple burning questions. First harvest today on spinach. How did it look?
Amazing. Spinach harvest, I think we're going to get close to like 80-90 pounds off of 2 90-foot beds of spinach. Wow. Which is way more than I had planned for. We changed the way that we transplanted the spinach this year. Okay. So we used a 2-inch paper pot chains rather than hand transplanting at 4 to 6 inch spacing. And that's really been awesome. The spinach looks great. The leaves look awesome. Students got to harvest. It was their first harvest, which is great. So a really awesome first crop for the springtime.
Nice to know on the paper pot. I think that's just
that's the way to go.
Yeah, it seems more and more. Start naming things that we could paper pot transplant yesterday in class, and just like, and this, and why not this?
Totally.
And this.
There are just a few things that I just haven't really loved in paper pots, but for the most part, I'm sticking to paper pots wherever we go. It's just it's so fast.
I wish could figure out getting paper pots hooked up like on a 3-point hitch and be able to pull across the field, because I think that would
be awesome.
Yeah.
One day.
We're not there. All right. Should we try? Oh, I wanted to also ask how the brassicas look.
They're doing really good. Considering
you're right. They made it through the flood, they made it through the frost.
Yeah, and that's all that we really care about. It was a mad dash last Tuesday to get them in the ground. But I'm really impressed with how they've, withstood all the weather, and I think that bodes well for a great brassica, for a great spring crop of brassicas. So yeah.
Cool. All right, should we try to go a little mobile?
Let's go a little mobile.
Okay, as far as my cable cord will allow me to go.
Okay.
So, wait. We're still working on learning how to go fully mobile here. So, all right. So, should we take a look at the spinach?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
So, like I said, we planted on 2-inch paper pot chains. And so rather than coming through and having to hand pick every leaf, which I think students spent a little bit of time doing, we were able to knife cut these just by, grabbing.
You got an example for me?
I think it's going to be further down here, Joe.
Okay. If we can walk and not make you sick if you're watching. And don't trip over
don't trip over the sandbags.
All right.
So further down here, you can kind of see that they were cutting things by knife.
Okay.
And so I think this is really the transition. This is a good point where you see that some of these stems are just the top of the leaf was taken, and then
put your finger there again for me.
Right here.
Let me find it.
Right here.
Okay.
And then if you come over here, you can see that these stems are cut at a more
Clean cut.
Clean cut.
Nice.
The one downside to that is that you're potentially nicking the next growth. And so your regrowth will have this leaf that's kind of half cut. So we're still kind of figuring out how to mitigate that.
On the other hand, you just pulled off 90 pounds out of here.
Yes. So I'm not really that disappointed. I'm not really that upset. I think that everything will be fine in the long run. Okay. But also in this tunnel, we've got our first succession of.
Can I hop over to the lettuce behind us?
Yeah, Salanova.
How's that? Oh, yeah.
So it's looking really good. And then
was this paper pot planted or transplanted?
This was actually just hand transplanted for the first succession. But I have switched back to paper pots for the lettuce moving forward.
Cool. That's nice.
Yeah, I think it'll be harvested next week, and we'll hopefully get 2 or 3 cuts off of this.
Wow, it looks good.
I'm really excited about it.
All right. Should we keep moving?
Yeah, let's keep moving.
All right. Mobile is actually working pretty good. So.
Awesome. Love that. You know, in this tunnel, this time of year, I usually have things like eaten by rodents as things grow. And we were keeping insect netting on.
I'm going to Bogart over to the tractor while you're talking.
Oh, yeah. On these crops to keep that from happening. But I think it was actually just like trapping whatever rodent was getting in there, and they were loving it. So we took the insect netting off and we had no problems. Oh, isn't that funny?
That's weird. Yeah.
I don't know why that worked, but it worked. So I'm not going to ask any questions about it. But
well, here's a sneak peek to April 30th for the weed management field day. So we've got you want to use your point the finger weeder out.
Here's our finger
weeder. So we got finger weeders for up against the plastic. We've got a coulter for kind of in the row. And then we've got a disc killer to kind of shove back up against the plastic. And this kind of little contraption means we can make one pass down each side of the plastic mulch. We could set this up for dual sided, but frankly, one side at a time is enough. As I learned real quick. All right. Shall we keep walking?
Let's walk.
So what do we got right here?
So this is our first small scale field block 1. Are you pointing to the insect trap?
Insect trap.
You sure are. Okay.
Yes.
This is our insect trap. We work with Cooperative Extension here at the University of Arkansas. They set up 2 insect traps for us. I believe this one is going to trap a corn earworm. And what this does is it basically, we get students involved with counting the amount of insects that we trap, and then we're then able to publish to the rest of the state or in this region the populations that we're seeing.
All right. So corn earworm, tomato fruit worm, same thing.
Mm-hmm. And we also have another one set up closer to brassicas that will catch cabbage loopers.
And squash vine borer.
Okay.
We'll have that too.
Yep.
So we'll have all 3 of those. So if you're kind of wondering what pests are kind of emerging around Northwest Arkansas, usually we have the data, and I will see if I can get a link shared. So, All right. So we got raised beds.
Raised beds. They're looking a little washed out from the rain, but they'll recover just fine. Raised beds. We've got radishes and carrots that'll come up in just a couple of days.
Cool.
And then our cat. Yeah, that's okay.
Oh, what do we got sitting right here? This intrigued me the other day.
Oh, this straw right here? Yeah. So I was talking earlier about the crimped cover crop. Once it's crimped and it dries out, it turns into like a really nice straw. And so this was actually all over field block 1. It held throughout the winter time. I just kind of left it there because it was a really nice soil cover. And I originally thought that I was just going to pull it off into paths and then plant into the beds, but there was so much of it. So we just ended up pulling it off the entire plot and built raised beds.
It's crazy that this is a year old.
It's crazy that this is a year old. It was a super dense planting, and you can see that we even had like more held up over there on our other side. Yeah. And these areas where the straw is sitting are on insect strips. So what we'll probably do is spread that out nicely and give some space for those perennials to pop up.
I think we're out of range of my Wi-Fi.
Okay, cool. Let's go back.
Wi-Fi, so.
What else, Joe?
That was everything on my list. We'll come back, maybe do just a farm walk here. Ooh. When we get a little further into the season.
That sounds great.
So. How
is spring going for you?
For me, do anything, so I'm good.
Well, I
Sit back down here.
don't think that's true. You've had quite a bit of preparation for our weed management field day.
Yeah. Oops. Everybody go for a ride. Yeah, I mean, it's going pretty good. We are working through our cultivation equipment and all our procedures, which has been good and troublesome, but mostly good.
Cool.
I feel like we made a lot of progress on our tractor scale, getting equipment and working through systems.
Mhm.
I feel pretty confident with our, get that back right, there we go. Pretty confident with our weed management for plastic culture. I think that's going to work out pretty good. I will hold my words on our bare ground cultivation until we
We're able to dial some things
yeah,
in.
dial that in a little bit.
Mhm.
I love the Jang Gang cedar though. You want to explain what the Jang Gang cedar is?
The Jang Gang cedar. The Spider Gang cedar?
No, the multi-Jang.
The multi-Jang. The Jang Gang cedar. For some reason, I was not processing. Yes.
I'm like, you named it.
Yes, the Jang Gang cedar is basically a single, multiple single row jangs that are on a 2-inch toolbar pulled behind a tractor. So it allows us to seed beets and carrots on mid-scale. For our particular system, we're seeding 4 rows per bed, and our beds are about 6 foot on center, close to there. So it's really exciting. It's so easy to use. It's just like setting up like a normal Jang in small scale. So there was like, it's like, oh, this is going to be a breeze versus like dialing in a no-till drill or, any other systems of seeding. So, Joe said that this is definitely like a bucket list item of his, and I'm really excited to see how it turns out.
Same.
I think this would be great.
Yeah, otherwise, on my end, it's been good. Our students here this year rock. They're awesome.
An amazing group of people, that's for sure.
Yeah, I can't believe this is my 4th cohort.
That's wild.
3rd cohort? 4th cohort. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, this is my 4th cohort. Yeah, because I think this is cohort number 5. So.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, and we're almost a quarter of the way through the program. But
awesome. I think they're learning a lot and having a really good time doing it. So
I think so.
It's important.
Like all right. I don't know. That's all I got today. That's a half hour into the show. I think maybe we
did it.
Call wrap it.
Sounds great.
All right. Any last comments or thoughts?
Nope. Happy growing, everyone.
Yes, happy growing, everybody. Have a great rest of your spring. Sorry for the fire alarm monthly test going on. Just a reminder, April 30th is our cultivation weed management field day. If you want to drive equipment, whether it's old equipment like behind us, whether it's our New Holland, or whether it's a walk-behind tractor, we'll have stations set up for testing out and trying out a variety of different pieces of equipment to learn about cultivation, learn about the different technology that is out there and available today, and many more short courses coming up here soon. Our next live podcast will be, and I totally forgot, it's going to be June something or other. I forgot the day and I didn't bring it out. I'm sorry, May something. So May something. And I think to everybody for popping in and listening, and those that pop in here later, thanks for popping in. And of course, this podcast was sponsored by the Center for Arkansas Farms and Food, the University of Arkansas Division of Ag, and of course, the USDA Ag Marketing Service Transition to Organic Partnership Program. Thank you for listening, everybody. We will see you in a month. Maybe we'll end.